Apex has changed in a big way, but what does this mean for the future, and what have Apex actually changed? Because sometimes it's hard to take a step back and just look. Well, only a month ago, EA announced that their sales had boomed to 1.3 billion, which is a lot of money, and their earnings expectations were blown out of the water, notably with Apex Legends outperforming expectations. And when this information was posted to Twitter, one of the production team at Apex quote retweeted it saying, "This just goes to show the power of executives trusting and empowering their dev teams to make cool stuff, and our dev teams listening to their communities." I know we've been listening, and from everything I've seen, we're just getting started. So this doesn't really confirm anything concrete, but I do believe that EA have kind of given a bit more control to Respawn. So perhaps something changed on that front, because when we look at the way Apex distributes content, the last year has been very different, and they have had a massive focus on meaningful content to keep people interested in the game, which is kind of what you want as a live service game. You never want your game to get stale, you always want to change something, give people a reason to come back, and give people a reason to keep playing your game, because there's so many games out there, why should people stick to only one? Fortnite does this really well, and Apex has created their own approach to this as well, using Legends. Because Legends are one of the core parts of the game, they realised that not letting metas get stale and shaking up Legends frequently is a very good approach to keep people coming back to the game. And it's true, it's so fun trying out the little reworks they do, and Respawn even said this. They said, "Generally, we would love for every Legend to be just as viable as another," and that was our approach to balancing for a long time, to try and push and pull Legends to be all balanced perfectly. However, we found out that approach was leading to more stale Legend metas that didn't shake up your core experience with the game over time. So we started to take larger swings, as you saw with the Legend class changes, which we also got bolder with as we went. So Respawn have realised taking big balancing swings at random Legends and random areas of the game does keep the game interesting. And it's true. Before Ash got her dash, seriously now, did you play her? No, you didn't. You likely didn't, but when she got her dash, everyone started playing her, and they had a new Legends kit to learn. Same with Caustic, he's become a really popular Legend recently. But before his rework, did you play him? No, of course you didn't. So these big balancing swings at random Legends that make them actually powerful do kind of force people to try new things and experience new areas of the game to keep them interested. I can definitely see the approach Respawn taking, and I guess they are taking the approach of let's take risks and spice the game up. In fact, back in Season 23, a developer did say, "I think we're going to take more bold risks and changes with the game moving forward. We're going to go after more experimental things and try to shake up the game from its level of stillness. We want to show that we're willing to take larger risks with the game to get more spark." And, in my opinion, as much as these recent metas have annoyed people, like the Ash Dash, for the most part, they have been fun. I've had more fun than frustration out of them, and they have definitely given a load of people a new reason to come back to the game, which is absolutely great. Also, personally, nearly a year ago now, I had a rant on Twitter about Apex being afraid to remove stuff, because I said, when was the last time they removed anything? Respawn are too scared to experiment, and it seems they definitely have changed their mindset on this, as they've been removing and adding new experimental stuff left and right. Like helmets, they got removed. Red armor, it is now completely removed. The time to kill, it's been absolutely uprooted, and they've been replaced with new gameplay systems, like amps, and Respawn have even removed the base RE45 to replace it with a temporary elite weapon, which is a new type of weapon they're introducing that gives Respawn an excuse to temporarily rework guns. Also, Respawn decided to experiment with the bow check, completely deleted arrows from the game, and experimented with a new ammo system for it, and the ability for bow checks to shoot grenades. So from my perspective, as somebody who's been reporting Apex news for nearly 5 years now, that is disgusting, the newfound boldness and experimentation that Respawn have got has definitely been keeping the game massively interesting, and I've been playing it more recently. And I think a lot of people would class these mini Legend reworks as content in the game. And once again, after years of doing Apex news, a massive complaint has been the lack of content, especially during events, Respawn would sometimes just release an event with skins with hardly any content, but now it's pretty much guaranteed that we get a decent amount of content through legend balancing. And honestly, less people have been complaining about the skins and the amount of skins because Respawn do back it up with content. Especially if they release a universal heirloom these days, they like to release a weapon that correlates to that universal heirloom, which first of all lets people experience the universal heirloom even if they don't buy it, and also adds just a really fun aspect to the game where there's a temporary weapon that you know is only going to be there for a limited time. I think it's undeniable, especially compared to like 1 or 2 years ago, that we do get more content. As in a game where one of the core pillars are legends, balancing and switching up legends can be content. Like when Watson got hood or fence buff, to me, that's content. So I feel like the game has definitely improved in that respect. Although in Apex, throughout its life, there have kind of been 4 hot topics that always pop up that people say Respawn don't fix. And once again, within the last few months, they've been really transparent on trying to fix and work on these problems. And even for some of these major problems, I would say Respawn have made dramatic improvements. The first of the 4 major issues that Apex has always had is the anti-cheat. For a long time, Apex has been the victim to some horrible hacks and some very horrible, even notorious hackers. Seriously, I think if you've been playing Apex for the last few years, you've probably ran into one cheater. And recently, Respawn have really been trying hard to not only work on the anti-cheat, but also be transparent, which is kind of how we know they're working on the anti-cheat. Because over on the Apex blog website, they do release updates about their matchmaking efforts. Recently, they've been releasing numbers on how many cheaters have been infecting ranked matches, and Respawn's new efforts to create their own anti-cheat tools that can detect things such as teaming, bot accounts, and actual cheaters, and they have showed us numbers surrounding this stuff, which I think has definitely made the community more happy, because at the end of the day, even if Respawn were working on anti-cheat stuff behind the scenes and they didn't reveal any numbers, people would feel like they were in the dark and without actual word from Respawn that they were addressing anything. But I do think these blogs are a good tool to show the community that Respawn are trying on the anti-cheat front and have people dedicating their work lives to it, and also they can show us metrics showing that they are trying, which is pretty cool. Another major aspect of Apex that people have always complained about, and I guarantee you watching this video, yes, you have complained about this as well, it's just natural: matchmaking. Respawn have also within the last year been trying really hard to make matchmaking fairer and more transparent, as Apex has been one of the first games I've seen at least to implement this graph here, which shows you in the range of skill levels in this lobby where you are, and it will straight up tell you if you're in a lobby that's just way more skilled than you, or if you're way more skilled than the lobby, which is a nice level of transparency, along with them saying they have been working on actual matchmaking aspects of the game. But the rank matchmaking is usually the source of most of the issues, because there's been a giant issue for years now where predators are getting into lobbies they're not meant to be in. Like a silver player or a gold player or a plat player will be killed by a predator. And Respawn have also been making changes to this as well. Over on their Twitter, they did announce at the end of last season, they did start a system where preds literally couldn't get into lobbies below Diamond 1. And Diamond 1 and Master and Prep players were kind of in their own little ecosystem where they couldn't bleed out onto anybody else. And after they ran this experiment, they did report their results, the good and bad. Additionally, in Ranked now, you can straight up see the ranks of everybody in your lobby, so you can kind of get a pre-warning if there is a pred in it, and you can go in with a bit of a clearer head. Now, I don't play Ranked, but when I did play Ranked, and I did grind it quite a bit back in the day, I used to always fear that I was in a lobby that was too over level for me. So I would imagine that this anxiety is kind of quelled for most people now, or maybe it's worsened because you can straight up see that you are going to get wrecked in the lobby. Another aspect that people have been complaining about for years is Respawn not listening to their community and just straight up ignoring issues and ignoring anybody talking about the issues. But once again, as someone who constantly reports the news on this game and is tapped into it, they've been listening a lot more. Not only have they been more transparent with the updates, and they've told us every single change they make, and they've even created a new patching system where they can push changes to the game way quicker, like within 1 day now, which has allowed them to patch issues really quickly. Like at 2 points while they've had this system, Revenant has had a glitch where he can become invincible, so Respawn have disabled him and then patched the issue, and sometimes they've managed to do this in the space of 1 day. Like they've disabled Revenant, patched him, and released the update to patch him within a 24-hour slot. Also, at the same time we got fast patch, we did get new servers, although these are still pretty controversial, and I think that's always going to be a thing with Apex, especially regarding the tick rate. I really do hope we see some more server changes in the future, as a lot of people still complain. Me personally, I haven't had any issues, but I'm not going to write anybody off for having issues, because they likely are. Still, there was an article on the effort it took to migrate the servers from original Apex servers to the Amazon ones, and there are statistics to prove that the server switchover did allow better performance. So I guess this is a W, although like most of the things on this list, I'd love to see more improvements to these certain topics. And of course, with all the good changes, we have had some bad changes, but it does feel like for a select few of these bad changes, Respawn does actually listen, consider the voice of the community, and then make changes based upon that. Like within the first week of Wildcard coming out, for some reason Respawn decided to disable stat tracking, so you could no longer get kills counted on your account from Wildcard, which was really frustrating, especially for someone like me who now only plays Wildcard. And there were so many complaints about this, to the point where Respawn reverted this within a few days and gave their justification for originally changing this. Also, accolades were a new feature that came out in season 26 of Apex. They were essentially an achievement system, but they were received pretty poorly, and Respawn decided to take them out of the game until further notice to improve them, to release them again at one point in the future, which is really good. And they've done this in several other instances. So to be honest, in my opinion, that's pretty cool. And recently with the communication, I haven't had many complaints. For years, I've been vocal that they don't tell us enough stuff. But honestly, I was just thinking earlier, do they tell us enough stuff? And I think if they told us any more, we kind of just wouldn't care. It feels like we're at a pretty good level right now, and they often do AMAs on Reddit where people can ask them questions. Now, granted, Respawn pick and choose what they answer, but it's still cool and does feel like we're connecting to the developers. But in my opinion, the biggest of the 4 topics that have always been hot in Apex is audio. And once again, recently, Respawn have just been doing the same thing with audio. They've been pushing fixes and doing blog updates. And in my opinion, the audio has been better and a bit more reliable. And I think the best change they have made recently is the fact that they made friendly footsteps way quieter, which is great. But honestly, here's a crazy opinion that's about to come across right now, but I think Respawn should do it. They should just make friendly footsteps silent. They have said before, the issue with the audio system within Apex is the fact that sometimes it has too many pieces of audio that it has to play, and it kind of gets a bit overwhelmed. So why not remove one of the factors being friendly footsteps to take a bit more pressure off and just make footsteps actually really reliable? I think that would be a great change, but they're definitely taking a step in the right direction, no pun intended. I really do feel like this is a no-brainer because, don't get me wrong, the audio still is far from perfect, and I really do think there's so much more Respawn could improve, but I think maybe they're a bit scared, and I do think that just removing friendly footsteps would be good, because the amount of times I've turned around and it's just my friend calling around, why do I need to hear them? Although in one of the season 25 patches, Respawn did push an update to make friendly footsteps quieter when you were under threat, but once again, why not just turn them off the whole of the time? I do feel like Respawn are nearing this change because they are changing priorities of friendly noises, but out of all 4 of the quote-unquote hot topics, being matchmaking, listening to the community, anti-cheat and audio is still the one that needs the most work. Also, I do realize I've just been glazing Respawn for like 10 minutes, but I do think there's plenty that still can change in Apex. For example, universal heirlooms. I only own 1, and that's because I randomly got heirloom shards and decided to buy the Karambit. I still think universal heirlooms are not only unethical because you do have to kind of gamble for them, but they're also too expensive. And I feel like if Respawn are going to keep releasing universal heirlooms at this price, at least give us a cheaper alternate, or even make heirloom shards more common. The game is old enough now. Respawn are releasing enough mythic content that costs heirloom shards. It's crazy to me, the heirloom shards are still such a low chance because it doesn't make sense. We have the same chance to get an heirloom shard when we've got like 100 things to buy with heirloom shards as we did when there were only like 5 heirlooms in the game and it was feasible to own every heirloom in the game. Where these days, if you started Apex today, you're just not gonna own every heirloom. It just costs too much. And honestly, I really do think it will benefit Respawn more to make heirloom shards a bit more common than it would to keep it this way. I genuinely think they would earn more money from people buying packs if they made them more common. And that's a change I would love to see. On the content side of this game, I am extremely happy and I think it's in a really good position, but on the cosmetic side, I'm still not particularly happy and I really hope Respawn do listen. Although, I know it's where they earn their money and I know they're earning good money from the current system, so will we see change? I really don't know. Although, one good thing we have got recently is a new permanent game mode, which was kind of made specifically to listen to fan feedback. Because one thing that really annoyed just about anybody in Apex was when a takeover would come and take over pubs. So, you wouldn't be able to play normal pubs, and also, it might disable stats in pubs, so if you got a 20 bomb, you wouldn't actually earn it, and it could just be a gameplay change that you absolutely hate, but you're forced to play, because you just want to play pubs. But now with the release of Wildcard, Respawn have confirmed that takeovers are going to kind of just stay in the Wildcard mode and be crazy things in Wildcard, while pubs stays as it is, a consistent experience, which is really great honestly. And I'm so excited about the future of Wildcard. I swear to God, I have not played one game of normal Battle Royale, apart from capturing some footage. All I've been playing is Wildcard. They have confirmed, I'm pretty sure, that there are more maps coming for Wildcard, and they're definitely just going to keep adding content, which is really cool. And I think Respawn's priority right now is just to keep balancing weapons and making every legend interesting. I'm really excited for the next update, to be completely honest with you. This is the most I've played Apex in a very long time, and I am really happy to see a lot of my old friends coming back to play Apex. It does really seriously have its issues that still need to be addressed, but I think we are moving in the right direction, and it might just be because EA let Respawn do what they wanted. The best part is, it's not long till the new big update comes out, so if you want to hear about that when it comes out, whenever it does, which probably won't be long looking at the Battle Pass countdown, I would definitely subscribe. And if you want to buy anything, use code GRT in the EA app or the Apex web store.